The Therapeutic Goods Administration, which is a government body now that oversees the administration of RU486, has recently given Marie Stopes, and Marie Stopes are one of the largest abortion providers in the world, permission to use RU486 in their clinics throughout Australia. They have clinics in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland and the ACT, and I think Western Australia as well. So that's likely to mean that RU486 will become more widely available in Australia. RU486 is an abortifacient drug, and it works by stopping the development of the unborn child. It blocks progesterone, a hormone which is needed to continue the pregnancy. So after the woman takes RU486, she also needs to take a second drug called misoprostol around 24 to 48 hours later, and that then works by expelling the embryo from the uterus. So it's a combination of two drugs that needs to be taken. Well, there's all kinds of issues involved with using it, but the Marie Stopes Bulletin describes a number of stages that women would go through if they decide to use RU486 rather than surgical abortion. And in the first stage, the woman would go to the Marie Stopes clinic and she would be given RU486 immediately, and then 24 to 48 hours later she has to take the second drug, and a combination of 4 tablets she has to take around then, and that then causes some uterine bleeding, and the Marie Stopes Bulletin describes that she may pass some pregnancy tissue. And then around the third stage involves going back to the doctor for an ultrasound test around 2 weeks later to make sure that the abortion has been completed. So there's all kinds of issues involved in this process. It's not a simple procedure, and it may be a lot more complicated for women than a straight out surgical abortion is. It does seem that women who have RU486 are likely to face the same kind of emotional and psychological problems that women just routinely have having an abortion. But it seems that there could be another factor that women who go through RU486 may have. Their whole ordeal and the trauma could be that they also then face seeing the remains of that child at home, and that they've been more directly involved in the abortion. So we worry that that would increase the problems women would face afterwards. We would have concerns about rural women using RU486 because there's some evidence that something like 5 to 8% of women who use RU486 can experience some kind of severe hemorrhaging afterwards. Now, if they're a long way from doctors and hospitals and back up, I certainly would be concerned about them and them using it in that context. So yeah, I think it's not an easy thing for anyone to use. The Catholic Church is opposed to abortion, and we have great concerns about RU486 being promoted. Again, we kind of see that society is going in the wrong direction here. Rather than offering women new methods of abortion, we think we should be looking at the underlying issues about what would be driving women to seek abortion in the first place, and to see if there aren't better options we could offer them other than abortion. Perhaps to look at many of the women, for instance, we know will seek an abortion in panic and great confusion and feeling quite pressured. And the women themselves report that there's a certain number of them would have taken another option, another path, if anyone else had offered them something. So we certainly have concerns when the Marie Stopes Bulletin is saying that at their very first appointment they would be given RU486, and there's no mention there of being referred to counsellors or anyone even looking and trying to see if there's something else that could be done for them, and something else they could be offered other than abortion. Well, the Church has always opposed abortion and seen it as a tragedy tragedy not just for the child whose life is ended in this procedure, but also for the mother and for society. And instead of looking at new ways of offering women abortion, we'd much prefer to see all of us in society, especially, looking at ways of reducing Australia's high rate of abortion. And just offering another way of doing abortion does nothing to address the underlying problems of what's driving women to seek abortion in the first place. And is there anything that we could do to reduce this higher abortion rate? We know from a number of surveys that have been done that many Australians also don't like abortion, so it's not just the church who's saying that this is not a nice thing to be going on out there. We don't really know the answer to that yet, but there has been some evidence in the literature that would say that, and certainly the promoters of RU486 are claiming it's just as safe, but there seems to be some evidence that there's a death rate from surgical abortion of around 0.1 per 100,000 women, and there has been some reports in the literature that RU486, the death rate could be something like 1 per 100,000. So again, it's not a high death rate, but it's something that obviously we're concerned about, any deaths that would be occurring from abortion, and we would see that as another tragedy involved in this whole issue. And again, we don't know how many deaths there could be, or all the long-term implications, because the studies just haven't been done. But certainly overseas there have been a number of deaths reported and associated with RU486, and there's at least 13 that we've documented, but other sources are saying there's more than that associated with the use of this drug.